Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, people. Welcome aboard on this Thursday. Grateful to have you with us for another episode of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Another good one coming to you. Coach Shannon Griffith will join us. We'll talk football, of course, is tonight. We'll kick off week one of the college football season. We'll talk about those games and more that are coming up this weekend. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com will join us. We'll talk about more about the college season starting, in addition to the Colts. Shane Steichen and Caitlin Clark at it again. Setting records, man. Setting records. Chris Denari will join us as well. But, Indiana's Caitlin Clark broke the NBA record for three-pointers in a season. Not a huge surprise, but she has she has done a lot now. She's broken the record for three-pointers. She's going to obliterate the assist record without question, I think. And that's amazing to me. To do it in college was amazing. To be the sixth all-time assist leader and score the points that she scored, mind-boggling. And she's continuing to do it in the NBA, starting to find her groove now as and it's helping the Indiana Fever, of course, because not just Caitlin Clark playing well. Kelsey Mitchell became the first Fever player ever to score 20-plus points 5 games in a row. That helped lead the Fever to an 84-80 victory over Connecticut last night in Indianapolis. That ended the Fever's 11-game losing streak to the Connecticut Sun. So putting some more things in the rearview mirror, which is nothing but good news for the Fever. They are now 15-16 after starting the season 1-8. So you can see it's coming together for the Fever. They are 12-6 since June 10th. That's third best in the WNBA over that stretch, trailing over only New York and Minnesota. Indiana is closing in on getting its first playoff berth since 2016, when it finished 17-17. The WNBA moved to a 40-game season last year, so we'll see what they can get done, but definitely starting to come together for I'm looking at the floor right now. Is that painted like that? That's wild. So I don't know. Did they change the floors? It's wild looking. But congratulations to the Fever. It's coming together. So congratulations to them. How's everybody else doing? Appreciate you. Of course. Looking forward to talking to everyone today. Our good friends, Bob Kravitz and everyone else, Coach Shannon. It's football time, baby. Kicks off tonight. I cannot wait. Tonight's games, let's see. There's not a ton of games. Well, actually, there are a lot of games on tonight's schedule. An unbelievable amount for a Thursday. If I could quickly count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 games tonight on a Thursday night. Illinois will be playing now. I don't think there's a good game in this bunch, but it's football. It's college football. You will get to see Rutgers. They are playing not on Indiana's schedule. Illinois also playing not on Indiana's schedule. Minnesota playing not on Indiana's schedule. Kansas, this is an interesting game. Kansas is playing Lindenwood. Never heard of Lindenwood, but they're coached by one of those South Dakota guys. You know how those South Dakota guys are. That's where Kalen DeBoer was from. Lindenwood's coach is of the same ilk. So looking forward to that. Now, I'll tell you a game that I am looking forward to. North Dakota State at Colorado. I believe South Dakota State is the two-time defending champion, I believe, or is it North Dakota State? But those North and South Dakota State teams are always more than competitive. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they come out. North Carolina State, a ranked team playing tonight, one of the few that I see. Kansas, in that game against Lindenwood, Kansas is ranked 22nd. Is Kansas the program that Indiana is? I don't want to say the formula that Indiana is going off of. They brought in Lance Leipold 3 seasons ago, and I believe Kansas is going to be playing their games, either all or a lot of them, at a soccer stadium this year because they are in the process of building a new stadium right now, a brand new stadium. Kansas, one of the worst football programs in Division I historically, much like Indiana. But Lance Leipold came in 3 years ago from Buffalo, and it was almost instantaneous, the changes that happened. He didn't have the advantages that Curt Cignetti has with the transfer portal being set, with the NIL being set. I mean, with it being as far along, especially as it is right now. So that's another reason why I have confidence in what Curt Cignetti can do at Indiana. When you have the right people, things will happen. So there's that. Doug pointing out that, yes, tonight is the first edition of Inside Indiana Football with Curt Cignetti, hosted by Don Fisher. That will be taking place at Hoosier Hanks East, over off of College Mall Road, 1285 College Mall Road, South College Mall Road, at the end of that section of stuff over there where where Kroger is and Dick's and all that stuff. It's at pretty much at the end of that. But if you're not familiar with that area, Old Avers Pub is the location. But tonight is episode number 1, and I'm expecting it to be a packed house, because people are fired up. They're ready. They are absolutely ready for football. And I think that so many people are interested to be around Curt Cignetti, to see what is he going to be like in public. What is he going to be like in this scenario? This is the first time where the fans and the coach will collide. So looking forward to that as well. I saw a stat yesterday, which is mind-boggling. There are over 3,500 graduates playing college football this season. 3,500 graduates. They've already graduated. They're staying in college. It's a record. It's a record of guys staying in college to play. So that's a lot to talk about today. I'll look forward to all of that. Georgia's Kirby Smart is expecting the SEC to implement and start releasing a football availability report in the next week or so. And I'm all about that. because that eliminates more game playing that coaches like to do. The NFL does this, and I'll tell you why. There's one reason, and one reason alone: gambling. Gamblers need and want to know that information. They don't want to find out that the star running back is not playing until the game starts and the bet's been made. So that's why it happens in the NFL, because the betting odds, it affects the betting odds on who's playing and who's not playing, which makes perfect sense, of course. But will the Big Ten follow suit? I expect that to be the case at some point, number one. Number two, something else the NCAA should implement, and high schools immediately, is the NFL kickoff. Have you seen it yet? The new kickoff rule where both teams are lined up just 5 yards apart, and the ball is kicked. No one can move until, I believe it is it till it's caught, I believe. I don't know how they manage that, but it is doing the intended job of increasing kick returns. A lot less are going to be touchbacks unless they're just deep into the end zone. But even then, a lot of times, because you don't have that wall coming at you at nearly as quickly, we're going to see a lot more kickoffs. And that's a rule that could be changed today. You could easily change that rule today without problem. There is, I think I talked about this once before, but there's no reason you can't just change it today and say, you know what, going forward, kickoffs are going to be this way. It would take a day of practice, maybe a day, maybe an hour. And we're going to, I cannot wait. It'll be a year away at least, but looking forward to seeing. That's going to affect things, because I've already seen some run backs that were close to being ran back all the way. Also, the communication in the helmets and the coaches. How well is that going to affect things? I watched the Sign Stealer, Connor Stalions deal on Netflix last night. Kind of funny. I mean, at the end of the day, this kid was just a Michigan super fan. He was a Michigan super fan who was very intelligent. Went to the Naval Academy and was a Marine. Very, very intelligent. But the fact that Michigan wants to act like they didn't know that there wasn't any involvement, it's a joke. A complete and utter joke. And the fact that they were able to keep that national championship is another joke. Could they have won it without it? I don't know. They should have. And then there would be no question. But there will always be a question about that. Michigan people won't care, and that's fine. 5S says he doesn't understand the kickoff rule. You eliminate the wall coming at you on kickoffs, but you still have people coming downhill on you during punts, and there are usually more punts fielded during a game. Wow, that's different. I like that. They've changed how these things pop up. Didn't even know that was coming on screen. Well, that rule has nothing to do with the punt rule. So, and that's a great question, a great something to look into. But, but on punting, it's the same thing. The guys are already lined up the way they are. The ball just probably goes a little deeper on kickoffs. But we've got plenty to talk about. Plenty of people to talk about it with. Shannon Griffith Looking forward to talking to him about this week's games. Have you got your picks in yet for the Indiana Sports Beat College Pick'ems? I don't think I have all of mine in yet, but I'll work on that. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Glad to have you with us. Back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel.
Can you hear me, brother?
Oh, there he is. I was getting ready to text you.
Yeah, I didn't get a link. I don't know why, but I was able to find the old one, so I figured it was the same one anyway. So, well,
Yeah,
I just did find the link, I think. No, I don't know. It must have got, I don't know. I'll have to look for it later. I found the old one.
It looks different, I think, because of how it's coming from I think that'll change. Man, your background looks like a blues club.
Yeah, I'm a blues player, man. I got everybody.
It looks like the House of Blues.
I got everybody fooled.
Better than the House of Booze. Dun-dun-dun.
I don't know if that's may want House of Booze.
That could be taken multiple ways too.
I know. It's been a week.
Yeah. Don't forget, go on to the fantasy tab on ESPN and do the Indiana Sports Beat Pick'ems each week.
Okay. I didn't know you had one.
Oh, yeah. The group is just Indiana Sports Beat. And the password
ESPN Fantasy.
Yeah, you just go down. There's a college pick'ems. It'll bring them up. Okay. And the group is Indiana Sports Beat. And the password is Signetti24.
We got 1 minute.
Signetti24.
Those today. Let's see.
Did you watch that Connor Stallions thing on Netflix?
I did. I was just talking about that. We'll talk about it. It's kind of a joke.
He's so guilty. It's not even funny.
Well, shit, yes, he's guilty. I mean, do you recall going, or did you go to the Michigan State Central Michigan game?
I don't recall.
I don't recall going to a specific game.
About
seriously,
15 seconds.
Last season, you don't recall being here?
All right, 3, 2.
Segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you so much for being with us. Shannon Griffith, the coach, joins us now as we're heading into week 1 of the college football season. I am jacked. It officially started last week, but I am not counting that.
No.
Coach, 21 games tonight on tap, though. 21 on this Thursday evening. There's not really a good one in the bunch, but I am going to be. I'll tell you who's one you're looking at.
Minnesota, North Carolina.
Oh, I missed that. Yes, that's probably the best game on the tap.
That one will be worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely, because that's kind of important. That's probably a winnable game by both sides, and that would be very important for their postseason prognostications and where they end up at the end of the year. But also this North and South Dakota State teams taking on whoever they take on. I always enjoy watching them because they are always, both of those programs are always good. And I can't remember, is it South Dakota State who is the 2-time defending champion?
South Dakota State is, yes, yeah. I believe so. North Dakota State takes on Colorado.
Coach Dion.
On I think Saturday. And
that's tonight.
Oh, it is tonight.
Yeah.
Well, that will be another one to keep an eye on because the Buffs will have their hands full with North Dakota State.
Yeah. This is on the road in Boulder, and Colorado is just a 9.5-point favorite.
Yeah. Yep. I'd take the points and maybe take the under in that game.
I thought South Dakota State played tonight as well, but maybe not. Maybe they're later on the schedule. Friday night, there are a handful of games, which I am not a fan of. Oklahoma is playing. Michigan State is playing. Duke playing Elon. Elon is at Duke. Elon, of course, one of the former stops of Coach Kurt Signetti. Let's see, Western Michigan at Wisconsin. So Wisconsin, Big Ten games every night. TCU at Stanford. I guess that's the best game of that evening. That's the lowest spread with TCU at 9.5-point favorite. So looking forward to that, of course. And then, of course, Saturday, just open the dam up and let it flow, baby. Number 14, Clemson at number 1, Georgia, basically kicking off Saturday at noon. That's in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Georgia, 13.5-point favorite, of course, in that game. But and you've got them all. Penn State at West Virginia. There's just a ton of good games.
West Virginia will give Penn State a game. It's
at West Virginia for one thing.
Yeah, West Virginia is better than what people are giving them credit for. And
it's only an 8-point spread.
Yeah. That will give Penn State's defense some trouble schematically and what they like to do. So that will be an interesting game just from the standpoint, 2 new coordinators for Penn State. Of course, Tom Allen, the defensive coordinator, going up against a Neil Brown and what they like to do offensively in terms of, the no huddle type of up tempo, which will be interesting to see how all that shapes out this year with the new communications and the headsets and the helmets of the quarterback, whether teams are more huddle oriented as opposed to fast paced. Now, I did see Georgia Tech utilize what we call a sugar huddle, which is everybody's at the line of scrimmage and the linemen turn around to the quarterback, get the play call, and the receivers are getting it from somewhere, whether it's wristbands or whatever, to keep the tempo up. So it'll be interesting this weekend to see how all the teams adjust to the new communication styles, basically offenses, not defenses.
Yeah. What are you expecting Indiana to do? I know that Kurt Signetti wants to use tempo as part of his style, but you just mentioned that it's not just the play that has to come in. There are multiple facets that go along with play, blocking schemes. There are just multiplicity of things that have to happen for a play to come into being.
Well, I do think what Georgia Tech did this year, or last week, I should say, in their big win over Florida State, you'll probably see a lot of teams do, and that's what we call sugar huddling. And sugar huddling only means is that everybody's at the line of scrimmage. The linemen don't get in a stance; they kind of turn their heads back to the quarterback to get the call. Of course, all the blocking schemes are built into the play call, and then however you're going to communicate that play to the wide receivers, mostly by wristbands, I would assume, because that's a simplistic signaling system if you have to do any type of signaling. And and then the way to get around some of the logistics there is that you'll see the wide receivers especially the outside receivers, which we designate X and Z, and they will stay on the same side. They will never flip sides. The only legitimate receiver that could switch sides are the slot receivers or the tight end. And then that way you keep things formally addressed no matter where you're at on the field. And that's a way you can keep things rolling and not have to worry about flipping a lot of bodies around and things of that nature. Georgia Tech did that last week pretty effectively against Florida State. I do think if IU is going to utilize some type of up-tempo offense, that's probably what you'll see, unless they go to a wristband situation where everyone has them and the plays are, put down on the wristband, and then the quarterback would just say number 12, or 11, and everybody knows what number 11 on the wristband is, which is another way to address the helmet communication as well as the play calling, because you can still signal the formation into the receivers to get them understanding what the formation is. That's no big deal. It's the play call that was all the problems of a year ago.
And sound, in some places, sound will matter. It won't matter at Memorial Stadium. I mean, if you're in the big house, it might become a problem, because if you have not been to Michigan Stadium, not only is it the largest stadium in all of college football, it's below grade. And it's the loudest outdoor place I have personally ever been in my life. I had to cup my hands and to talk to my roommate many years ago, who was a former IU football player, when we were there, to talk to him, to tell him something. It was that loud. It's crazy. So it'll be the same. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to it, because I watched the Connor Stallion sign stealer deal last night on Netflix. Yeah. And boy, he's at the end of the day, he seems like he's a decent guy. He was a super fan. Literally grew up a Michigan super fan. He was intelligent, and but then things went overboard. I mean, he took it overboard, and I don't know that Michigan was the one that suggested this stuff, or I think he figured a lot of this stuff out on his own, but he had the support.
Well,
he got the support to do it all.
Right. The narrative of it is that here's a kid that went to the Naval Academy, so he's highly intelligent, served this country. I don't think there should be any trashing of Connor Stallions as a quote unquote human being, or, question his, allegiance and things of that nature. He actually started this at the Naval Academy, as they gave him a position as a student coach, and it was suggested, hey, how about I, learn the signals of the opposing team? And that's how it all started. And there's nothing wrong during a game, whether you're on the sideline or in the press box, to try to steal the opponent's signals. It's
like baseball. It happens in baseball all the time. Right. You're doing the same thing.
And that's why you have seen in the past where you've seen the big curtains that go up around them, and they're trying to, they're trying
guys on the sideline that are doing all this goofy looking stuff.
Right. That was all for, as far as whatever it was, to deviate from people, stealing the signs. And he just accumulated a wealth of knowledge, and to the point where he's got it in a organized database, and it's very sophisticated. He's done a lot in that arena. And then when he was able to join Michigan, that's what he told him he did at Navy. And they thought, well, if it was good for Navy, it's good for us. Yeah. Where it crossed the line is to the point where it became not just a game day situation, but
he
rather
was sending people out in person, in person ahead of game in-person scouting is not allowed. Now that used to be, you used to do that in high school when I was playing, I remember. But in-person ahead scouting is not allowed, but they were filming his people were filming the sidelines.
Yeah, it was a very coordinated effort to do what he was trying to accomplish. Now, he ultimately had to break down and try to decipher what the signals are, and that's not necessarily easy. But having been that he's an intelligent young man, he was able to do that. And the crossing of the line from a sportsmanship etiquette situation was that he was doing it and sending out people to do it in person. Now, years ago, there was actual off-campus scouting of games many moons ago. And that was ultimately eliminated because it became a cost containment issue. Because if you're flying a guy or two to go, scout a game on Saturday in the Big Ten, you were trying to send guys out to do multiple games throughout the country, and it was just too much of an expense. So they eliminated it, and that's where the rule came that there was no in-person scouting to be taking place on Saturdays during college football season. So what he did as it pertains to the etiquette of the rule is that he violated it by doing what he did and orchestrating it and sending out. And he found a booster to back him, which was probably not very hard in Michigan.
Uncle T.
Of course, he denied it ever being a guy named Uncle T. He's Uncle T.
And no one acknowledged who Uncle T was, but just, I think, I can't remember his name, Tim something, may have been Miller. Don't quote me on that.
It was either that or Bauer.
But he was on a board, a major NIL collective board for Michigan, and everyone denied it, but magically he disappeared off of that board. He was gone.
Yeah. I think if the NCAA wanted to do an inquiry of Uncle T back before NIL was legal,
and then poof, he was gone.
Uncle T would have probably been found to be giving a lot of money under the table to guys back in the day. But interesting. I think it brought a little bit of clarity to what was known in the reports and such. Yes, there were probably some reports that were, I guess, overhyped to a degree, but some of that was put out by the NCAA trying to pressure him to actually testify. They were trying to make him look as if, hey, you're non-cooperative, so it's going to cast a black eye on Michigan because it's automatically going to be the assumption of guilt and so forth and so on. But it was very well detailed, and I'm glad that it was it was done. I'm sure he got a pretty big payday out of it from Netflix that ultimately helped pay probably some of his legal bills with those attorneys. But it's not,
He didn't have any legal bills, baby.
Well, the attorney said that he didn't, he took these cases on as pro bono, especially against the NCAA. But what I found interesting was the fact that when you negotiate something with Netflix for probably the amount of money that this was done for, I'm sure that attorney got a piece of the pie just for time and effort, because I'm sure he was the one that helped orchestrate it.
I bet he got 33 and a third % is probably what he got.
Well,
what that was paid.
I guarantee you it was scripted enough that there was not going to be anything in that documentary that was ultimately going to be self-incriminating.
Oh, no. Just like we talked about in the break when he was asked directly, did you attend the Michigan State CMU game? I do not recall a specific game. There were only 12 freaking games last year. You were at one on a specific weekend, and you're going to tell me you don't remember going to a game at wherever the game was. I'm going to assume since it was against Michigan that was in East Lansing.
Yeah, it was in East Lansing.
So you don't forget about going to a game in East Lansing against your one of your hated rivals.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then he holds up the picture and says, I don't even think this guy looks like me, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. It's your damn brother.
Except the guy at Barstool said it was him.
Yes, he said he told me. But
yeah. Well, anyway,
man,
it was good.
Looking forward to it. Our first post-game show coming up Saturday after the game, after Kurt Cignetti's press conference. So make sure you tune in for that. We'll get that published out and all that good stuff. But I'm looking forward to it. Does Indiana cover the spread this week?
Well, it's at 21.5 still. If I'm not,
that.
Yeah, over unders 51. I don't know. I'm going to have a breakdown tonight on the Hoosier tailgate, so everybody take a look at that. It comes out at 7 of this game. Have some video of FIU from last year. Their quarterback, this Keon Jenkins, he's a little bit reminds me of Penix, left-handed kid, throws a decent ball. It was a true freshman a year ago. He's got a year under his belt experience. Offensive line, pretty good size. They really suffered in running the football a year ago. So that's going to be the key component. Defensively, a lot of it was because their offense wasn't very good. Their defense was on the field a lot. So this was going to be a big test for Indiana. Anybody out there think this is going to be a steamroll, I would caution you because this being the first game for Coach Cignetti and then getting to run a game-like situation, this may have a couple hiccups along the way. Do I think they win? Yes. Do I think it's a dogfight? Hell yes. Because of where we're all at within this moment of being the first true test under fire for not only Sig and his staff, but for these kids who've never played a game together, as a unit, other than the scrimmages and stuff. So I'm a little cautious on the point spread as it pertains to the three scores in that realm, but outright, yes, I do think they win. Point total, I think it's an under. I'm not sure they get to 51 and over, but I'm not a great bettor, so I can't say one way or the other. But I think it's a great test for Indiana because I think it's ultimately going to prepare them for what they've got in week 3 against UCLA coming up, to go through a little adversity, see how they respond, and things of that magnitude. But I'll have a lot of that tonight at 7.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Make sure you tune into it. And then, of course, on Saturday, we'll be with the post-game show. Looking forward to that as well. Shannon, Coach Griffith, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right, partner. See you.
We're back with more right after this. The man Bob Kravitz joins us from bobkravitz.com here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Keep that championship smile. Go visit our friends, Dr. J. Back with more after this.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
What's up?
What's happening?
Not a damn thing. Just rolled out of bed.
Well, that's good for you.
Yeah, I needed it. How was the tournament last week?
Oh, it was great. Awesome.
Good.
The weather was fantastic, of course.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry I had to miss it. I had to get some stuff done.
That's all right. We missed you, but there's always next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Lord.
Are you ready for some football?
I am, actually. I'll be down there on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Mr. Carr, appreciate you being with us. I just sent a message out there, but if you can message me, I want to get in touch with your son in regards to some of the stuff that we're going to be doing content-wise. Get him hooked up. Man, I'm ready for some football. It starts tonight, baby.
Who's tonight?
Nah, not Minnesota, North Carolina is the only decent game, I think.
Okay.
Although I'm always interested when North Carolina State plays. Always interested in that. And
about 1 minute.
An ironic matchup on Saturday. James Madison travels to Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
Charlotte, the game 4 opponent for Indiana this year. And even though James Madison lost all that they lost and are on the road, they're an 8-point favorite.
Is that right? Is Charlotte any good?
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Not if they are an 8-point underdog
30 seconds
at home to a team that lost all of their good players.
Right. Hey, Jim, let's not go too long today, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm just not feeling quite right.
All right, buddy.
10 seconds.
Well, we've got a hard break anyway.
Okay.
3.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday. It is game week 1 of college football. Looking forward to it. Great Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com with us. I know your last piece I saw that I remember was on the Colts, and
yes,
that this is Shane Steichen, and it should be. Yes, I agree with you. It's time, man. Either make it happen or
for Ballard,
or Ballard rather.
Yeah.
Yes, my bad. Make it happen or get off the pot. It's time. There's been enough. You've had enough time for this experiment, and I just don't. I don't know that it works. It's just there's never been any juice for me during the Ballard era.
No.
I just never felt any just pop. There's never been a level of excitement. I mean, drafting Anthony Richardson, people got excited, but there's just never been a level of excitement going into the season about the team. So he's got.
I think there's measured optimism, which is about as good as it gets around here. But yeah, Ballard is very, very, very stubborn. He has a way of doing it. He loves his linemen. He's got a couple of voids in the secondary, but he's got $20-something million under the cap to maybe address some of those voids, and yet he doesn't do it. He's going to go with 2 really young and unproven cornerbacks. The first reserve cornerback, Dallas Flowers, is coming off an Achilles. So I think it's going to be a tough go for them at some points because they're facing really a murderer's row of good quarterbacks this year, which is something that they didn't have to deal with last year.
Caitlin Clark sets a record. Man, she's getting
amazing.
her groove. The Fever are getting their groove. They started out 1-8, and now they're trying to fight for a playoff spot. But when she was in college and became the 6th leading all-time assist leader, along with the scoring she did, that was mind-boggling. Well, now she's doing it at the professional level now.
Well, I remember when Diana Taurasi said, reality is coming.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, she wasn't wrong. I disagree with some of my friends who say that was out of line. I mean, she did struggle early, especially with turnovers, but she is so the real deal. She's been a cultural earthquake. She leads the all rookies in virtually every statistic except for rebounding, which Angel Reese obviously owns, being a taller, player, plays by the basket. she's been a revelation, not a revelation, because that suggests that there's a surprise element to it. There's really no surprise. She is a cultural earthquake. She's a generational player, and Indiana is so damn lucky to have her, because she has. I was at the game last night. They had 17,000 plus. They've already got over 500,000 people to attend Indiana Fever games, which is a WNBA record. So good for her, good for them. They are playing outstanding basketball. They beat a 22-7 team last night, and they had 5 stops in the last 5 possessions, and that put the game away 84-80.
They've got to just be feeling so much better about themselves as a team. Christy Sides has to be feeling a giant feeling of relief, people getting off of her back, and letting this team grow.
Oh, absolutely. And, you saw early, I mean, Caitlin with the turnover problems, Aaliyah Boston looked completely lost early on. And Nalissa Smith was having her problems. They didn't really know who the others. Kelsey Mitchell was dealing with stuff off the court with her father passing early in the season. They didn't really know who their 5th starter was. Lexi Hull has really stepped up and taken the bull by the horns there. So they're going to be a 6 or 7 seed, and while it's 2 out of 3 in the first round of the WNBA playoffs, I think they're going to be a dangerous out. I mean, a tough out for whoever they play, because they have the 3rd best record in the league since that 1-8 start. So they are playing great basketball right now.
Another piece or part of the piece I last read of yours as well, you talked about how coaches handle things in press conferences, and you mentioned Kirkpatrick
Right.
in your dealings with Knight and whatnot. And ironically, when I was just out of school, I was covering an IU game and asked Knight a question in a post-game presser, and I have I should have a badge back there somewhere. One of those. That's a dumbass and basically that was a dumbass and asinine question is the response that I received. And of course the question didn't get answered. But Kirkpatrick turns and looks up at me and says, "I thought that was a perfectly good question."
Good. Yeah. I mean, well, they say there are no dumb questions. I don't know about that. I've heard some real doozies in my time, but
not only they're dumb questions, but sometimes what people don't realize is there's a lot of the times questions I ask, you ask, a lot of other people ask that we know the answer to,
pretty much,
but people don't want to hear it from us. They want to hear it from the players, the playmakers, the participants. They want to hear them say it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, to some coaches and whoever, they're like, well, that's a pretty dumb, obvious question. But, like asking Lexi Hull about the role she played in the game last night seems like a dumb question. We all kind of know the answer, but for crying out loud, let's hear her take on it. Let's hear Caitlin Clark's take on the way that Lexi Hull played. Anyway, I was talking about Deion Sanders. I just think that could have been handled privately. You didn't need the school to come out and try to publicly embarrass this reporter. It should have been kept it should have been kept quiet. Like, there have been times I've had athletes or whoever who just don't want to talk to me, and so that's fine. If you don't want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to you. So, but you keep it private and you keep it professional, and you keep it above board. And the University of Colorado, and I know their SID really well, but for whatever reason, they decided to go public with it, and now it's kind of a crap show.
The only IU basketball coach that I have not had on the show is Archie Miller. Archie Miller didn't want to talk to me. But I wouldn't want to talk to me if I was him either, because
you were pretty critical.
He was a jackass. He still is.
Yeah. I've talked with a lot of former players who tell me that he never reached out to any of the alumni. Archie just didn't understand that there's more to coaching Indiana than just coaching.
Yep.
You've got to be the face. It's a state university. You've got to be the face of the program. You've got to go out and kiss babies. You got to do all that political stuff. I mean, that's important. And he never really seemed to understand that.
Nope. Tom Brady is in a unique situation, about to become partial owner of I started to say Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders.
Right.
But he is also in a job. Is he with Fox? Yes, he is an announcer now for Fox. But if he gets approved as an owner, he's going to be under some very tight constraints, where normally the TV teams, they meet with the coaches, they're at the facilities, they're in practices, they're getting as much information for a game preparation as they can. But if he gets approved as an owner, he will not be able to do any of that.
Right, which is the right move. Although the right move is to tell him, look, you can do one or the other.
Yes.
Making accommodations for Tom Brady reeks of special treatment to me. I mean, it's right to deny him access to those meetings before games when because it can give the Raiders a competitive advantage if they know what other teams are thinking and doing. To me, I would say to Tom Brady, look, either you're an announcer or you're a part owner. Make a choice, because it isn't right to do both.
Nope. The football season's opening up for us this weekend. Purdue taking on Indiana State team. They should have an easy time with that. Indiana taking on Florida International, which we'll see. I'm going to assume you have no expectations other than a win for Indiana.
Yeah, I think they'll win. I heard you talking to Coach Griffith. I just I think it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride. I think it's one of those games that'll probably stay close because Indiana will make some mistakes early on, and then they'll pull away late, and everybody will say, well, it should have been more. What's the line? 21 and a half? I don't know that they're going to cover that, but I think they'll win handily. I think they'll win by about 14 to 17 points and not have to sweat too much to accomplish that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I think obviously the offense is not going to be in perfect sync in the first game. But I still think that with the way that they have approached it, way Cignetti has approached it, they're probably going to be a little further ahead. And with all the JMU personnel that came over, maybe that helps them be a little bit further ahead than where they would normally be.
Maybe.
So it'll be interesting to see. But I'm definitely thinking a win. Whether they cover the spread or not, I'm not sure. But
you see, our boy Zach Osterman has them winning 9 games. And Jim Coyle is going from your lips to God's ears.
I'm telling you, it's weird to have anybody else really think that positively that early on. But it's
you thought they would win what, 7, 8?
I think 7 is the bottom. I think 8 is the real possibility. Not that 9's not, because Michigan's a gigantic question mark for me.
Right.
But so is Indiana. We'll find out starting this Saturday. And I'll look forward to seeing you this week, brother.
Absolutely.
I hope you feel better.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You betcha. We appreciate you. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. Make sure you're going there and signing up. Be a subscriber. I am. And read it all the time. See you on Saturday, my friend.
All right. Appreciate you, man.
You betcha. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East, where tonight you can find the first edition of Inside Indiana Football with Curt Cignetti, hosted by Don Fisher. I believe that starts at 7 p.m. there at 1285 South College Mall Road. Back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
Okay, we'll use those segments here.
Okay.
Did Skyler ever get with us?
No word yet. He's probably still setting everything up and getting everything ready. Sure, it'll be a process there beginning setting that thing up.
Oh, my love, my darling. Oh, my love, my darling, I can't seem to save my life.
About 1 minute.
Bam, 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 bam.
About 15 seconds. Three, two, one.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Thursday of game week 1 of the college football season, brought to you by the Fresh Fork. Go to freshfork.com and order some great meals, ready-made, custom curated. Don't have to worry about making dinner. Man, it is week 1 of the college football season, and I am here for it. Even though not a ton of great games, there are some that will be fun. Some games in the Big Ten that will be fun. Looking forward to North Carolina and Minnesota tonight, as a matter of fact. That should be a good game of equal competition. North Carolina had been decent in the last few years, but they've had some good quarterbacks. Not sure that they're in that position right now, but I'm not sure where Minnesota is right now either. But I'm sure they'll find out. But man, it's here, and I am ready to get going. Indiana, the fans, they have been pumped up ever since the hiring of Kurt Cignetti. And I've seen several of you talk about Robert says he's not sure that he's anticipated an IU football opener like this one. Doubt these first two games are a struggle. They get to refine their game and prep for UCLA. Well, that's how it's supposed to be. That's the plan, at least. As long as everything goes right, you don't make turnovers, stupid penalties. Those are the things that keep you coming along. It will be interesting to see how they have done, because remember, this team has only been, and I use together in a very loosely, since last December. So they have not even been together for a year. The coaching staff has not been here for a year. So everything has been implemented, brought in, new players brought together, older players brought onto a different page. How is that going to work out? We'll find out. But I think that, and you would think that someone like Curt Cignetti, who does not use every single minute, if he has 3 hours of practice, I've mentioned this before, if he feels like they've gotten everything done that they need to get done, they don't have to go 3 hours or whatever that time is. And that's a little unusual. But I think that can also rest the mind of these players mentally, maybe give them a mental break, because there's something, too much can be too much. So I like the approach taken, and who am I to doubt someone who has done it as long as he has done it and as successfully as he has done it. You know, I mentioned earlier, ironically, this weekend, James Madison, Curt Cignetti's former team, playing Charlotte, which Charlotte is a team that is, they've been in Division I now, I think, for 4 or 5 seasons. And they have scheduled every major program virtually around. They played Tennessee, Louisville, Kentucky, Indiana now. I can't even think of all the teams they've played. So, boy, do they have the experience, but obviously they're not that, they should not be that formidable, because they're an 8-point underdog at home to a James Madison team that lost everything of substance. Now, I don't know if that's just if that's Las Vegas reacting to Charlotte, but it amazes me that they would be an 8-point, James Madison would be an 8-point favorite after everything they've lost. But so there is that. But lots of other games going on this weekend, lots of SEC teams playing. Of course, all the Big Ten teams playing as well. I don't believe that anyone has the week off this weekend. What's the game you're most looking forward to besides Indiana? I know we have all the Big Ten teams playing. Miami of Ohio is at Northwestern. If I can quickly go down through there on the Saturday. That Clemson and Georgia game, that could be fun. And Penn State of West Virginia. Man, what they used to call that, is that the backyard brawl? Or was that Pitt in West Virginia? Everything at West Virginia is a backyard brawl. Trust me. They like to burn couches. Number 25, Iowa, is hosting Illinois State. Maryland is hosting UConn, who is trying to become a member of the Big 12. Louisville, close by, hosting Austin Peay. Purdue hosting Indiana State. That should be a walkover for Purdue. And quite possibly, that's the last, I hate to use the word easy, but that will be the last easy game on their schedule. It has to be tough knowing that the next 11 games are either going to be a loss or a dogfight, because their non-conference schedule of traveling to Colorado State and Notre Dame at home, Not going to be easy. Although that Colorado State game, maybe it works out for them. We'll see. Number 15, Tennessee hosting Chattanooga. Now, here's the game I'm interested in. Number 17, Oklahoma State is hosting the two-time defending FCS champion, South Dakota State. OSU is a 9.5-point favorite. Don't forget, they got those QR codes on the back of their helmets. See, Washington State. I don't even know. What are they in? The Western Athletic Conference now? Is it the Pac-WAC? Oh, there you go. There's a good name. The Pac-WAC. Is it the Pac-12 WAC or Western Athletic Conference now? Number 2, Ohio State hosting those vaunted Zips of Akron. The line, 48.5. I think that they must have dropped it just because it was embarrassing to have that 50-point spread up there. Now, here's another good game. Florida hosting Miami, number 19, Miami. K-Bro. That's only a 2.5-point spread, so looking forward to that. Indiana right now showing it 22-point favorite. So the love coming for Indiana again, 3:30 on BTN. Nebraska hosts UTEP. The Cornhuskers are a 27.5-point favorite. A lot of love for the Huskers there. Iowa State hosting North Dakota. Northwestern hosting Miami of Ohio, and Northwestern a 3-point favorite on the soccer pitch. So I scan down through there. Alabama, Kalen DeBoer. They're ranked number 5. They're a 31.5-point favorite over Western Kentucky, over the Hilltoppers. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. They're ranked number 6, 42-point favorite over Furman. Baylor, Houston, Middle Tennessee, Rice, Oregon. They're hosting Idaho, 43.5-point favorite. Number 7, Notre Dame travels to the Lone Star State to take on number 20, Texas A&M. The Aggies, the 3-point favorite in that game. Speaking of Michigan earlier, they're a 20.5-point favorite over Fresno State. Auburn, 47.5-point favorite. Oh, UCLA, is that Hawaii? Be a good look for Indiana fans. And although that UCLA, they're in Los Angeles, by the way. UCLA's coach, Deshaun Foster, wants to make sure everyone knows that. UCLA, they're in Los Angeles, if you didn't know. That's a joke. But they're traveling to Hawaii. That's like an 8-hour flight, right? I've never been to Hawaii. But isn't it like 8 hours from LA? Which sounds like a lot. Nah, it's nothing. I'm done with that travel stuff having an impact. I've talked about this before. Last year, I believe it was, Vanderbilt, who is not very good. They flew all the way to Hawaii from Nashville, Tennessee, and beat the dog pants off of Hawaii.
It's about a 5.5-hour flight.
That's it? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I thought it's time to be in the air. But imagine what it is from Nashville. That's like a 9.5-hour flight. At least. But, yeah, they beat the hula skirts off of Hawaii last year. So that travel doesn't mean squat, but it will be a good opportunity to watch this UCLA team. It's on CBS Paramount. They're a 14-point favorite. So we'll be curious to see that. Kentucky, they're a 28-point favorite over Southern Miss. Man, there are tons of games, and I am looking forward to it. Can't wait. Washington hosting Weber State. They're a 27-point favorite. They're going to be interesting to watch because they're completely new staff, lost a ton of their team. So there's that. Dave G says, Jim, I'm saying they win 8 games, but that might be including winning their first bowl game. Well, you can't might it. You got to pick it, man. Yeah, I think that 7-5 is the bottom. I think 8-4 is very doable. Easily. And if things were to go right, I don't think 9-3 is out of the question. That's before you reach the bowl game. There has never been in my time of ever being in the media a schedule in which you look at for Indiana and I only see one definitive loss at this particular moment. And that's at Ohio State that I would call a definitive loss. And there's nothing to say that Indiana couldn't rise up. Who knows by then? But as of right now, looking at that schedule, that's an L to me. Michigan was at the start of the season, but yeah, I've kind of changed my mind. I'll wait and see what they do. We'll find out. Robert says he's not sure that he's anticipating. Oh, I already put that one up there. Yeah. Looking forward to it. So, yeah, I can't wait, man. It's going to be, what's the crowd going to be like? You know, we talked about that yesterday if three quarters would be nice. What if it's better than that? If it's better than that, I guarantee you, Scott Dolson and all the IU admins, they're going to be turning somersaults. If you could fill that stadium for Florida International and win, it's most likely going to happen again for Western Illinois. If they go to UCLA and knock off the Bruins, that Charlotte game will be the same, and it'll be like that from there out. And that will be a season unlike any other. Indiana could set the record, attendance record this year. They should. They've got 8 home games. So they should set a home attendance record this year. You've got a great combination of 8 home games, which is beyond unusual. I can remember as low as few as 5. But 8 home games, winnable games. Everybody's pumped up for the season. So it's all good stuff. Looking to have just a good time this weekend. I'm glad it's not a late game, so we miss all the other games that evening. Don't forget, we'll have a post-game show afterwards, after Kurt Cignetti's press conference, which that usually, it could be up to a half hour up after the game. It'll be on YouTube, so you could catch it at any time that you like. But what are you looking forward to this weekend besides the start of the football season? What games outside of, if you're an Indiana fan, are you looking forward to? If you're a Purdue fan, what games outside of that are you looking forward to? Who's coming or going to a game? Any game. The weather, I've been checking that because it's been so unbelievably hot. Like unhealthy hot. But Saturday, again, continues to look marvelous. 94 expected today, 95 expected tomorrow. But then on Saturday, a cold front expected to move through and to lower the temperatures. We'll talk more about the weather later. Up next, our good friend Chris Denari is going to join us. We're back with more, brought to you by Fresh Fork, right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
What's up, Jim?
Hey, man, a whole nother background.
Yeah, my wife redid my office.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Looks nice.
Yep. Got, yeah, she repainted it. I've got brand new furniture. I'll send you.
She said, I can't have this stuff going out on the air like this. I've got to make some changes.
Let's see. I just sent you the pictures I took of my office.
Oh my God. The highs for next week?
What are they going to be? I'm going to be in South Carolina next week. Pawleys Island.
You're gonna miss out. The highest is going to be on Sunday at 86, Monday 80, Tuesday 80, 81, 82, 82.
That's how it was.
Next Saturday, 78.
Wow. That's how it was about a week or so ago. We went downtown Carmel and ate outside. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Then it got nasty.
Yeah, but we've only gotten a solid week's worth of this, and I'm cool with it because it's been incredible. And it's getting back to being incredible.
What's the weather supposed to be Saturday for football here?
Well, it's hotter than Hades Friday, and then there's a cold front coming through, and it's just dependent upon when that cold front comes through. The high on Saturday is expected to be 82.
Got about 1 minute.
But just when those thunderstorms, but there's scattered thunderstorms possible, so that's going to be the tricky part. But then it's beautiful from there on out. Oh my goodness. Pawleys Island.
Yep, we leave tomorrow. Play golf a couple of times. Hey, I played Holiday Farms Monday in an outing. Unbelievable course in Zionsville, brand new.
20 seconds. Five.
Segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, on this Thursday of week 1 of the college football season. But there's still basketball happening right now. Chris Denari joins us from the Pacers. They're still enjoying their time off at the moment. The Fever, we've talked about them a little bit today, man. They're kind of catching their groove, Chris.
Yeah, they're playing really well. I was fortunate enough to fill in last Saturday. Went to Minnesota, did the game at Target Center, 18,000 there. Minnesota's really good. Fever, I thought, played well, got beat by 10, but they bounced back Monday with a win in Atlanta and then a really good win last night over Connecticut by 4 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So, winding down the regular season. I think there are 9 games left. The Fever currently in 7th. They should, I say, comfortably make the playoffs. They've got a good enough advantage over the number 9 team. So it'll just be seeding. They're going to play one of the top teams in the WNBA in the first round. If they finish 6, 7, or 8, they're going to play either Connecticut, Minnesota, or New York. And what's interesting, Jim, about the WNBA playoffs, it's a best-of-3 series, but you play the first 2 games on the higher seeds' home floor. And so if you can upset them in one of those games, then you have game 3 as a lower seed on your home floor. So that'll be interesting to see because I think the Fever are 10-1 in their last 11 games at home. They played really, really well at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So, yeah, still a ways to go. Half a month left in the regular season and then the postseason.
And this team is really starting to gel. They started the season 1-8. But like you just said, they're 10-1 or whatever at their last 11 home games. They're coming together as the pieces are coming together. It's not just Caitlin Clark and I'm dropping her
Aaliyah Boston. Yeah.
Aaliyah Boston. You've got other players that are contributing. I had a player last night score 20 points for 5 games in a row for the first time ever in Fever history. And then you've also got Caitlin Clark, whose main contributions seemed to have been getting the ball to other people this year, but she's quietly just set the WNBA rookie 3-point record, which is mind-boggling because she wasn't really seeming like she was in that groove for a while, but she must have been doing better than I thought.
Yeah, I would say she probably hasn't shot the ball as well as she's going to shoot it in her career. I think she's been in the low 30% from 3-point range, but she leads the WNBA in assists. And who you're talking about, 5 or 6 straight 20-point games is Kelsey Mitchell. Played at Ohio State, so Big Ten fans would recognize her. She's a lefty, and she's really shot the ball well. And that backcourt is really dynamic right now with Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. So, you want to play your best, near the end of the season as you're reaching the playoffs. And that was definitely a goal for this team and this franchise. They have not been in the playoffs since 2016. It's hard to believe because from probably about 2007 to 2016, I think it was 11 or 12 straight seasons in the postseason. It was a given that the Fever would be in the playoffs. And, they ran into some tough times. That's why they've had so many good picks. And now they're on the precipice, of getting back into the postseason. And once you get there, the way it's set up, it's a best-of-3 series. You don't know what's going to happen. So I would think that any of those top 3 teams, Jim, are going to be fearful of drawing the Fever because the Fever are not playing like a 7 seed right now. They're probably playing like a top 4 team.
Yeah, and if they're able, they're going to probably end up somewhere in the middle of the draft now and not be at the bottom again, which has allowed them pick up players like Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark. But they don't seem like they're that far off either as these pieces continue to come together.
No, they're not. They probably need some more depth. They have struggled of late at the forward positions, though Nalissa Smith did play. I thought she played pretty well last night. But yeah, you can always use more depth. But this is still one of the youngest teams in the WNBA. In fact, they might be the youngest. I mean, they've got over the last 3 years, Nalissa Smith out of Baylor was the number 2 pick 3 years ago. Aaliyah Boston was the number 1 pick 2 years ago, and Caitlin Clark was the number 1 pick this year. So over the last 3 years, you've had, top picks because you just didn't have a very good record. So, but this is a team that they're coming together at the right time. And I said this, I had a visit with Christy Sides last week prior to me going to Minnesota to do that game. And, I told her, I said, having done the Pacers for a number of years, when Indiana made the trade to get Tyrese Halliburton, a pass-first 20-point scoring point guard, it's very similar to Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark really loves to pass the ball, though we know she's a dynamic scorer. It takes a while to learn how to play with that type of player, to play with that point guard. And so it wasn't going to happen overnight, just like it didn't happen overnight for the Pacers. But I think this year we saw how successful the Pacers were, and that's what we're starting to see with the Fever and Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, everyone. There was a lot of people that were unhappy at the beginning of the season. They were really given a lot of grief to Coach Christy Sides, and that seems to have subsided now. Winning, as I say, winning cures everything. And I'm surprised at the amount of people who were like not realizing. I'm like, you realize this team is built off of draft picks from just the last 2 years, basically. But that is coming together, and people are starting to embrace it. The crowds are still remaining high. Bob Kravitz on with us a little bit ago, said he was out there last night, 17,000 again. And then you were in Minnesota, 18,000. Yeah. These are unbelievable numbers that are continuing to carry on for the WNBA. I mean, it's blowing. It's really mind-boggling that you can continue to maintain that. And they have.
It is. They had 18,000 Monday in Atlanta. The only times they've had They've played in State Farm Arena twice where the Hawks play because the Atlanta Dream playing in a much smaller facility. But twice they've played where the Hawks play, and they've drawn 18,000 twice for the Indiana Fever. So there's no question. I mean, Caitlin Clark has brought a lot of energy, a lot of eyeballs to the Fever and to the WNBA. And I think, early on, there were so many Caitlin Clark fans. They are now Fever fans. I mean, all these people had followed Caitlin Clark into the WNBA, and they were used to seeing her at Iowa, win 30 games and go to the Final Four. And I don't think a lot of those fans understood, this is a different level of basketball. And you had 2 number 1 picks the last 2 years for a reason, because you weren't very good. And now you're starting to see all of that grow. So I just think it was going to take time. It was going to take time for the team. It was going to take time for the Caitlin Clark fans. It was going to take time for the Fever fans. And I think now we're seeing the fruits of that labor.
Absolutely. What's happening with the Pacers right now? It's kind of a lull for them getting some rest, rejuvenate, making plans for the upcoming season and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I would say August is usually the quietest month in the NBA, because if you think about the season, training camp will start right around the 1st of October, and then the season runs through the NBA Finals in June. Then you have the draft, then you have Summer League. And so that takes you all the way to almost, mid to late July. So the real time for front offices and staffs to get away, coaches, is right about now. I've been in the Ascension St. Vincent Center the last number of days and haven't really seen any of the coaches. I saw Kevin Pritchard, the team president, the other day, but it's a chance for people to take some time off. You'll start to see players, and there have been some. I mean, we've seen Obi Toppin, Tyrese Halliburton have been at Fever games. Guys have been working out in the building. But in September, so we're just a few days away, probably next week or the following week, you will start to see players come in, and they will unofficially have their own players training camp, if you will. And they all start coming together, playing pickup, working with strength and conditioning. So we're probably about a week and a half away, maybe 2 weeks from guys trickling in and getting their sights set on 24-25.
And then, of course, the college football season opens up. Well, it's kind of opened up a little bit, but really it's this week. It's week 1, so I'm all fired up about it. Oh, you're a big-time sports fan.
Yeah.
You're in. What are you looking forward to? You're going to be on vacation a little bit, getting a little R&R in. Probably won't have time to watch a lot, but are there any games you're looking forward to?
Yeah, my wife and I will be driving halfway tomorrow down to South Carolina, and then the rest of the way on Saturday. So, I'll definitely dial in on the radio, on satellite, on Sirius XM to listen to games. I want to see Indiana and Purdue both get off to good starts. Those are teams, of course, I follow. I used to broadcast their games on Big Ten Network when I did that. I thought week 0 was fascinating. I thought that game over in Ireland with Georgia Tech kicking the field goal on the last play of the game to upset Florida State. Texas A&M hosts Notre Dame tomorrow night or on Saturday night. And I was looking at the schedule, Jim. There are a bunch of games tonight. I mean, college football there looked like there were 20 games on the schedule tonight. So
I believe it's 21, Chris.
21 games. So it's time to settle in. And
it goes through Monday. It goes through Monday night.
Yeah. If you're a sports fan, but especially if you're a college football fan, you've got 4 straight nights of able to watch opening weekend, week 1, not week 0, this week in college football.
I'm a little surprised. There's only 1 game, I believe, on Sunday and Monday. There's 21 tonight. There's 5 tomorrow night. I'm like, why would you not take advantage of an open NFL Sunday and have 3-4 games that day? I mean, just stack them up. Monday night, you could probably have had 2, but Sunday easily could have had 4 solid games. So I'm a little surprised with the number of games that will be happening on Saturday. why not just take advantage?
You know what I said? One of the toughest broadcasting assignments I've ever had was a number of years ago when I did games for Big Ten Network. I did a game on Thursday and a game on Saturday. So I had 2 college football games in the span, of 48, 72 hours. And the level of preparation for that, let me tell you, was intense. I think I had IU in one game and Purdue in the other game. So that was good. But then I think it was Southern Illinois and Western Kentucky. And you're doing all that prep and you're hoping you don't want to get players mixed up from Southern Illinois and Western Kentucky because the turnaround was intense. I had nothing left on Sunday after I did those 2 college football games on Big Ten Network. So I'll enjoy either listening on Sirius XM or watching this weekend when I get to South Carolina.
Well, earlier, kind of playing off of that, I was talking about Tom Brady. Tom Brady is looking to be approved as an owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. He is currently a TV analyst for Fox for football, scheduled to be doing, or he already has, I think. But if he becomes an owner, he is going to face some unbelievable restrictions that will hamper his preparation. He will not be allowed in opposing teams' facilities. He will not be able to meet with coaches. He will not be able to view practice. He will not be able to sit in on those conversations about all of that, all of the things that broadcasters do to prep, especially at the national level. It is an unbelievable amount that people don't realize that goes on in that preparation. So if that happens, how much is that going to hinder him?
Yeah, I think back to my days, doing Big Ten Network. One of the things you had, we would have a conference call with the road team, but then we would be in the facility of the home team on the Friday before the Saturday game to meet with players and coaches. And when I talk to other NFL broadcasters, guys that work in the NBA, they're constantly meeting with head coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, players, because those are the tidbits, those are the nuggets that you don't get in game notes, that you don't get in stats. So that to me will make, I think he's going to be good. I really do. But that's going to make the job a lot tougher if you don't have that access as you're getting ready each and every week for your assignment.
Tom Brady getting into a lot of stuff. He also owns there's an app, the Autograph app. And so he's getting into a lot of stuff to keep him busy. I guess he saw Peyton staying so busy, man. And he's Peyton's Papa John's magnet now. He does all this TV work, and Tom Brady's not as good on TV as Peyton is, but so I guess he had to find a different vehicle.
Jim, I'll tell you what's impressive when you think about retired athletes, and I go to the NBA, Shaq, Charles Barkley. Again, they're on, they've been on TNT, but retired athletes, Brady, Peyton Manning. And that's pretty good when you can no longer play, you're no longer on the field, but you still have a presence in the marketplace. And that's what Brady and especially Peyton have.
Yeah, I remember as a kid when we'd be watching a game and this announcer would be so-and-so and you'd hear that he was a former player. And I would have no idea who it was because I'm like, I don't know who the hell that is. Hey, that guy played in the 60s. And I go, oh my God. I said, that wasn't even real sports then. It's crazy how those perceptions are like that. You don't acknowledge unless you saw them play. You don't really understand and acknowledge where they're coming from. But it's hard to not know who people like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and those guys, Larry Bird, it doesn't matter. They're still talking about these guys, even like Larry Bird, still talking about his exploits from 30 years ago.
Yeah, and I would go from a baseball standpoint. I think baseball is in former athletes doing things, but you see Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter probably does more commercials than most current active Major League Baseball players. I think I've seen Bryce Harper and Mike Trout do some things, but you're right. I mean, Frank Gifford was, I think, a really good NFL player back in the day, but I never saw him play, or if when he played, I was a little kid, so I wouldn't have remembered that name. And so I think it's a little bit different now because of TV and those types of things. I mean, Jim, we wouldn't have had access like you do today. I mean, we were lucky to get one game a week on a Sunday, and you didn't have access to the internet and stuff like that to follow through each and every day. And so I think for kids today, they're probably more in tune with those former athletes than we were back in the day.
Absolutely. There's just so much information there, man. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I know you are. Not the drive. Are you driving down?
Yeah, we're going to drive halfway tomorrow, drive the rest of the way in on Saturday. We have our beach house about 4:00 on Saturday. So we'll be there for a week. And so more than likely, I will not be with you on next Thursday because I'll either be out on the beach or hopefully playing golf or playing with the grandkids.
Well, don't worry. We'll forget and we'll send you the link anyway. Chris Denari from the Indiana Pacers, we thank you so much, man. Enjoy your trip and safe travels.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
You betcha. Thank you, buddy. We've got lots more coming up here on this Thursday on Indiana Sports Speed Radio, and we'll be back with it. Brought to you by the Ugly Grouper on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Whether you're already in the area or heading down that way for vacation, stop in. They have got tremendous food, including locally sourced seafood, your favorite craft beers and cocktails, and live music every day. Back with more right after this.
Segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper.
Oh, my love, my darling.
Jim, I do got Skylar on a Zoom call with me right now, just to let you know he's getting everything.
Was that an
set
attempt
up,
to stop my singing?
No, of course not.
Good. We're going to use those clips here.
Okie dokie.
So we've got
we
four
got plenty
from McIntyre. If you could just play them in succession if you wanted to.
Okay. Yeah. There's I can do 3 today, then save 3 for tomorrow, or we could do all of them, or
yeah, I don't know.
So there's 6 of them. So
let's see. So we got Todd, Larry, we got Zach. We may not need it tomorrow.
okay. Yeah, so there's also the 2 James Carpenter clips in there already that are there for tomorrow as well. But yes, so Skylar's just getting everything hooked up right now. He's getting connected to the internet and logging in and everything and making sure it all runs. He's going to try and hop in here before it's over, but we'll see. Got about 1 minute.
Oh, my love, my darling. Oh.
$30 seconds. All right, and 10. 3, 2, 1.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday of week one of college football season. I'm ready, and I'm here for it, baby. Games tonight. What time does that first game start tonight? Let me get back over to the schedule for tonight for this evening's ball games on this beautiful Thursday. It's not beautiful here. It's still hot, but it won't be this weekend. Let's see. Howard at Rutgers at 6 p.m. So they have they are kicking off the week one. Then the rest of the games are at 7, couple at 7:30, 8, couple at 9. And at 1 at 10, baby. So you could go deep into the night watching college football. If you were so inclined, I will not be doing that. I would like to watch. I will catch a couple of them without question. Missouri, that'd be good to watch. Kansas, interested in watching Kansas, but the North Carolina-Minnesota game. North Carolina favored by 2 at Minnesota. I'm going with Minnesota, baby. I don't think so. I think that Minnesota is going to win that game. That's a game I'll probably be watching. It's on Fox. Coming to you from Huntington Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Talked about Minneapolis a lot today. So cannot wait, man. I'm looking forward to it. Mitchell Page will be with us tomorrow as we get ready for this weekend. Hopefully he might be at the game, and we'll do our post-game show as well. Lots coming up, man, in this football season. And don't forget, this weekend, Indiana basketball is having a reunion for all players. And Jalen Harrelson is visiting Indiana basketball this weekend. So that is pretty timely for Indiana. You have to go out to September 20th is probably the next big weekend for Indiana basketball visits. That's when Braylon Mullins and Trent Sisley will be in town, and they may have another one or so. Malachi Moreno had been scheduled to be on that weekend, but obviously he will be going to Kentucky, so I doubt that he's making that visit now. We'll see. But there's going to be a lot of mix. And then college basketball, what are we, 6 weeks away from that? Gee whiz. It's craziness. Oh, tonight, don't forget, college soccer as the Indiana Hoosiers host Notre Dame out at Bill Armstrong Stadium. It doesn't start till 8, so it'll be a much cooler match. I'm sure that's why they moved that game to an 8 o'clock start. At 7 o'clock, you've got the first. You can actually make the football coaches show at Hoosier Hanks East off of College Mall Road in Bloomington, 1285 South College Mall Road. You're less than 10 minutes from Bill Armstrong Stadium from right there. You could actually make both. So I will be making both. So that's going to be a long day, people. Coach Signetti's first edition of Inside Indiana Football. Don Fisher, of course, hosting. But this is the first edition with Coach Signetti. I'm sure it's going to be a packed house. I have no doubts. Man, I hope they're ready at Hoosier Hanks, baby, because it's going to be busy. There is so much of excitement. And each year, the first game, there's always excitement with the start of the college football season, but not like this. And you better get there early, because I'm telling you, there might not be room for everyone. It's going to be, I don't know if they understand. I think it is going to be a packed house. They might have to turn people away. I truly believe that. It's not like it holds 3,000 people either, but people are looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to it. You haven't really seen Cignetti out in the wild much. He's been on our show at Big Ten Media Day. He was on, the Big Ten Network, and you've seen him do some other things. But it's game week. This is his first opportunity really talking to the fans. He was at Huber's back in the spring, but this is football season. It's time. So I'm looking forward to what that's going to be like. Then you've got football tonight. Of course, I'm going to be missing a lot of it, but if I'm at the soccer game, Indiana coming off of a loss, by the way, on soccer, and not only coming off of a loss, of all teams, they lost to St. Louis. St. Louis used to be what Indiana became, the most dominant program in collegiate soccer. The first dominant program in collegiate soccer was St. Louis. And Indiana went there and took an L. So, also on the show tomorrow, Todd Leary returns for his normal Friday spot. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star will be joining us. And we're definitely going to talk about his predictions this year for Indiana football because they mirror mine. Normally that's not the case. And normally, like I say, people like Zach are very conservative with their predictions, but I'm looking forward to hearing his thoughts on this season because that's going out on a limb, which you can also go to thehoosier.com and see the predictions that we have out there. I don't think I've added mine in there yet. I'll be doing that as soon as the show's over, but looking forward to that as well. Let's see. Ross wasn't planning on going to the game Saturday since he's going to be in town now. He might try to get down there in time. Well, Ross, I think that you should. I think you're going to enjoy it. It should be a nice day as long as I think those thunderstorms, that line of storms is going to move through in the morning. And once that moves through, it's like somebody coming in and turning on the air conditioning switch. It is going to be unbelievable. And looking at next week, it's mind-boggling. Highs around 80 to 82. Next Saturday, 78. You want to talk about some football weather? Holy smokes. What time is the game next week? Is it also a 3:30 or is it a... Oh, it's a Friday night game. Forgot about that. Holy cow. The weather is going to be mind-boggling and unbelievable next Friday. Well, I can't see it. But unless we have a heat wave, it lays out that it's going to be pretty nice. Plus, it'll be in the evening under the lights. So that'll be fun. But all of the new things that are going on, I can't wait to hear from the thoughts of people, what they think of all the new additions at Memorial Stadium, the food additions, the different concession stand areas. Like you've got Buffalo's, you've got Avers Pizza, you've got Yogi's. I can't even remember if there. Of course, Upland Beers is there. And think of all the changes, seriously, that have happened in the last 5 years. 5 years ago, No beer, no nothing. It was just same old normal everything. And now you've got all of these different food options. You've got beer options. It's how it should have been, probably, to be honest with you, a long time ago. It just takes forward thinkers for that. Not that I'm one, but and when you're a school that thinks basketball first, that wasn't going to be the case. But I said this yesterday. The next thing on Indiana's agenda, and this obviously happens within the next 3 years, is a new press box for Memorial Stadium. And that is mainly, it's not for press, it's mainly for the suites that they're going to need to add. You've got to have suites. Those 3 suites that they have on the field, that's nice and all, but those are terrible seats. I mean, imagine you're in the end zone. You're elevated a couple feet, but you're still in the end zone. It's cool when they're coming at you, but when they're on the 50-yard line going away from you, it's a nice angle watching the offense work, or I guess watching the defense work, but you're 60, 70 yards away, flat ground. The suites will be a great addition, and it will continue to add to the look of Memorial Stadium. It's a good looking stadium now that they've enclosed it, although it's not very big at holding around 52,000. Hopefully that Indiana will have the need to increase stadium capacity. And I'd say the average, well, it's hard to say what the average Big Ten stadium is, because you've got places like the Big House at Michigan, and the Shoe at Ohio State, and Penn State, all holding 6 figures. Michigan State up there, what are they, like 80,000? Nebraska up to around 80,000. Iowa 70 to 80,000. Wisconsin 80,000. Big stadiums, but they fill those stadiums, and that's important because they make money on those. That's their own money. They don't have to share that. That's not, the TV money is something you have to share. But man, it's been a great one. I'm looking forward to it. We're getting closer. We're 1 day away from being 1 day away. How's that? 1 day away from being 1 day away, baby. And it's going to be a fun one. It was a fun one today. Fun conversation with Coach Shannon. You can tune into his Hoosier Tailgate tonight. And he will be with us on the postgame show on Saturday, which you can find right on YouTube for those of you that are subscribed there. If you aren't, just go subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's no cost or anything like that. And it'll send you out the information when we're on, so you don't miss anything. David asking, will they still have the concessions that are run by area charities organizations? When he was young, he used to work at a concession stand. Yeah, well, I'm sure they will. They still have to have the people to run all these things. But I don't know how that works. But there's actually probably more concession areas. When you think about adding like the Avers Pizza, that's a separate little block building that they have built away from the concessions, between the fence and the concessions. Same for let's see, Buffalo's is in one of the old concession spots. There's something called the Sausage House. All kinds of stuff. You'll see it when you get out there. We're back tomorrow to do this again. Man, I could do an extra 30 minutes. I'd love it. But we got to get out of here. But we're back tomorrow to do it again. Mitchell Page will be with us. Todd Leary's will join us, Zach Osterman, and we'll hear from the Florida International coach and a couple of players as we're getting you ready for this weekend, week 1 of the college football season. Cannot thank everybody enough. Appreciate everyone. Make sure you support all of our sponsors. Keep it tuned to the station you're on right now. Got great content coming up ahead. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.